PBR. Hi, folks. I wasn't going to make a video about my travels today. I went to Mount Rushmore and Crazy Horse. The visit I made to Wounded Knee is in the Pine Ridge Reservation, and there's a little town called Pine Ridge, and I went there as well after visiting the site of the massacre. The Lakota gentleman that I talked to, not the one in the video, but the one that I met afterwards, we talked for a long time. And when I left Wounded Knee, I went into Pine Ridge and I picked up some groceries and got some gas. And I mailed off a bracelet to my customer, and I sent her a text and said, "Your bracelet's on the way. Check the postmark," because it was postmarked at the post office there at Pine Ridge. Now, the guy, somebody, maybe it was, I guess it was the person working at the post office. He said it's going to get sent up to Rapid City first. So I don't know if it will actually have the Pine Ridge postmark or not. But anyway, I let my customer know, and I said, watch for the postmark on it, because I finished her bracelet up whenever I was teaching that young man how to make the cuff. And that was when I was in the Sage Creek campground in the where I was a couple of days ago. My memory doesn't work so good. I forget the names of things. But this Lakota gentleman told me, he said, I told him I was going to come up here, and I told him I'd figure I'd go to Rushmore if it wasn't too expensive, because, I saw it when I was a kid, but I was actually more interested in seeing Crazy Horse. And he said, yeah, Rushmore. He said George Washington was one that cleared towns out, and Jefferson expanded the country, and even Abraham Lincoln had his hand in it as well, pushing out the Native Americans. And he said, and the fourth president, he's guilty by association. So Mount Rushmore wasn't necessarily something that was celebrated by the locals. Mount Rushmore is, you can read all about the history of it. I'm sure there's tons of videos on there, photos, all that. I took a lot of photos and sent them to my wife and my daughter. It's an interesting place, and it is impressive. I assume that you can see those faces from space. I guess I've never looked at Google Maps to see what shows up if you look at it from Google, from their satellites, but it's a very nice place to visit. I went to Crazy Horse. my Lakota friend said, "You won't find the people there." And I went, and Crazy Horse was bayoneted in, I think it was Nebraska somewhere. I forget the entire story, but he had put down his arms and had gone in peace to negotiate, and found there was something happened, and they said it could have been a communications problem, but he got scared, and all of a sudden he's under arrest. He tries to get away, and one of the soldier guys bayonets him. There's a very nice museum of Native American items at Crazy Horse. And if you go, I almost made a mistake of going into the visitor center, and you can see that's where the Native American Museum is at. You can see lots of cool stuff. To go out to Crazy Horse, you can ride a bus. I could see it just fine for where I was at. I didn't see a reason to go out on the bus, and I'm on a really tight budget, so I try not to spend extra dollars, except for stickers for my truck. I'm getting quite a collection of stickers on my truck of places I've been. There's also something called there are a couple of big metal gates, and it says something about Nature Center. I thought, well, what's that about? Well, I almost left without going in there. And it's good I went in there, because there was a lot of interesting stuff in there about the construction. The original artist, I don't know, was he the artist that drew it, or was he the person who was carving? But the guy that started cutting the mountain for Crazy Horse, he had a studio in there. He built a studio, and there was a lot of his stuff in there, which that was pretty neat. And he had a compressor, a motorized compressor that he bought, and it was a piece of junk, and it's outside there. It kept quitting on him. There lots of story stuff. You watch the video and then wander around, and you can see a lot of the stuff that was related to building the Crazy Horse monument, and it's got a long ways to go. I don't know if it'll ever be completed. If there were Native Americans working there, it was not apparent. The guy, this Lakota gentleman, told me, he said the thing that they've got right more than anything is Crazy Horse is pointing in the correct direction to find the Lakota. The Native American Museum was pristine. They had so many exhibits that looked like they were brand new, essentially. It was, they had a difference between Rushmore and Crazy Horse that they like to point out is Rushmore is federally funded and Crazy Horse is not, and that's why it's taking a lot longer. But there's a lot of money there, a whole lot of money in both places. That's apparent just walking around looking at things. lots of money going into both of them. And like I said, that museum was pristine. It looked quite new too. You compare that to Wounded Knee. Wounded Knee gets no funding from anybody other than the people on the reservation. If you go into, it's just down the road a ways from the monument. If you go on in to Pine Ridge, it's a little town. The people there, it's a mix of people, but where I went and got gas, and then I was looking for the post office to mail my package to my customer, and I had to ask somebody. I drove around it twice. I had to ask somebody where it was at. There weren't any signs. I guess you had to know what building to go into. And the lady said, it's on the other side of that white shed, that big building over there. Well, only part of that building is the post office. I don't know what the rest of it was. And there were some people there that helped. I walked around and asking, and there were some people there that helped me. The people were very friendly. But in the parking lot, there was a Taco John's facing the street, but the parking lot is behind the Taco John's. And there's a grocery store and a hardware store. I went in and shopped for groceries and came out, and I treated myself to some fried chicken and potatoes and a drink. It was a package deal for like $9. So I had that for my lunch, it was quite good. I sat out on my tailgate. Well, I didn't, not on my tailgate, but I've got that basket on the back that's got some tools and such in the basket. I sat on one of my toolboxes right behind my tailgate and had my lunch. And a guy came around, people asking for money. And I told him, I said, I didn't have any more cash. I said, I had already given that away the same day. But I said, that guy right over there, he told me the story, because the Lakota guy that had told me the story had come to town to get some gas, and so he saw me and came over and we chatted very briefly. I had given him a wire twist. And this other guy that was asking for money, I said I didn't have any money to give to him either, but he told me the story, and I gave him a twisted wire bracelet. And the guy said, well, give me one too. I can sell it. Well, I'm not going to give it to somebody for them to sell it. I sell them, but they aren't cheap. But that guy told me there was somebody shot and killed just right there, right in front of the post office. And I could throw a rock and hit the post office. That happened the night before. This parking lot, this kind of the building that had the post office in it, I don't know what it was. It wasn't an office building. Maybe it was, but it didn't have very many windows. It wasn't a typical office building. This hardware store, grocery store, the Taco John's. Oh, and there was a head shop there. Weed is not legal necessarily. I don't know the rules on it in South Dakota, with the exception of being on a reservation. If you're on a reservation, it's perfectly legal. Or so this Lakota that I talked to before had told me. And so you've got this area right between them, between these buildings, and it's off the road. It's back behind the stuff. Big letters spray painted on one of the buildings that said meth, and you could see meth heads just all over there. And there was one of the police there in the parking lot watching things, keeping an eye on things. And this guy said things were getting so bad there that they had to start a curfew. He said the gas station's supposed to be open 24/7, but they have to shut down at 10 o'clock at night, from 10 o'clock till 6 o'clock, because they've got a curfew now in this place because crime is so horrid. Driving around through the reservation, or coming into this little town, on my way to the Wounded Knee Memorial, lots and lots and lots of people live in trailer houses, which there's nothing wrong with that. But trailer houses, you'd expect them to probably be in a trailer park, but not necessarily. These were, some of them looked more like relics than actual living spaces. I saw one trailer house that had an outhouse next to it, and it was obviously an outhouse. That told me that they didn't have indoor toilet. Really, really bad condition. The only way that you wouldn't think people would be living in these places, except there would be an automobile there that looked like it was in service. You know, it wasn't like it had weeds growing around it or anything like that. But there are signs about drugs and alcohol around there, and the first post office I stopped at wasn't open, and that was on my way to Wounded Knee, but it was on the reservation. There was a sign that it didn't open till like 10 or 11 o'clock, which was a little unusual, but there was some notices posted on the door. It says day labor. If you want to do day labor, show up at such and such time. You can get 5 days, and then you have to wait a month before you can get more day labor. And day labor, I don't remember if it told how much it paid or not, but this was basically unskilled, no jobs kind of thing. They're just signs of poverty and alcoholism and drug abuse all over. It was sad. It seemed the people there were hopeless. The contrast between the conditions on this Indian reservation, and then you come up here to the Rapid City area where Rushmore and Crazy Horse is at. Lots of money here. Now I'm sure that there is poverty here as well, but oh my, there's nice houses. You'll see trailer houses. You see gated communities. In Pine Ridge, dogs running the street all over the place. You got to watch out for the dogs when you're driving around. I don't know if they belong to anybody or not. People obviously messed up, shuffling along. Just really sad. And it's only like a little over an hour between these two places, between the reservation, or the town of Pine Ridge is on the southern end of the reservation. You go through the reservation, driving north to get up to this area, and it's Badlands. That was what I was thinking about, the campground at the Badlands. You're still basically in, it looks a lot like the Badlands, and it's I don't know if it's not the official Badlands National Park or anything, but it looks pretty much the same. And then all of a sudden you get in here and you're in these piney woods, the Black Hills. The contrast between the almost desert-like conditions and then all these beautiful trees is every bit as much of a contrast between the living conditions of the people who were actually here first and now what is a huge tourist draw. The tourists don't go down where the real thing's at. That's where the story of the Lakota people is at. The Crazy Horse is a monument, not specifically. There was something there said about it not being specifically about Crazy Horse, but it was also about all of the peoples and trying to bring education and that sort of thing. So they're trying to do some good things at Crazy Horse, Crazy Horse, but it's still a huge contrast between what you see there. If you go there and you see the Native Americans portrayed at Crazy Horse and compare that to what's going on out in the reservations, there is no comparison. It's not the same thing. Anyway, so that was my day, and this is my video about Mount Rushmore and Crazy Horse. And not a single picture of either one of them. Cheers.